Home studio upgrades. We're 2 years into a pandemic that has really forced everyone to work from home. I can't say it enough. I say it all the time. If you're an actor and you do not have a home studio, I don't know what you're doing right now. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just do the best with what you got, where you got, but you need to have decent lighting that isn't reliant on daylight or isn't backlit or isn't just you shuffling around lamps and hoping for the best when it's like if you're relying on a window natural light and you got to shoot one last minute at night, you're kind of screwed. So it's decent lighting, some kind of sound. Doesn't need to be great sound, but I mean, your phone's probably good enough, but if you can have a lapel mic or a shotgun mic, or if there's a way to soundproof that was great as the siren goes off in the background. That was a sound effect. Brandon adds sound effects to his auditions.
I add sound effects.
Yeah. So can you buy a backdrop right now? Here's the bottom line. This is what I think. This is my opinion. You should have a studio setup where anytime something comes up, whether it's an audition or you just wanting to film something, literally all you do is flick on the lights and hit record. Mm-hmm. That's it. You don't move a lamp. You don't move a desk. You don't move your kitchen table. You don't have to tell your entire family like, hey, nobody come to the dining room today because it's not a dining room. It's a studio. Find a corner in your house or a room or a den or a bedroom or a closet if it's VO. Whatever it might be. And that's where this conversation with your family comes in. Because if you've been waiting for this and every time maybe your spouse is rolling your eyes because every time you get an audition, you got to spend an hour rearranging the house. Whereas if you had just said, hey, you know what? It's really important to me. I want to make this my best year ever. I got a ton of goals. I want to make sure that I get all these bookings done because I want to take better care of the family and improve our lifestyles. And I know that right now, every time I get an audition, I got to rearrange the living room and the dining room, and it upsets our way of life at home. What about this? Let's pick this room, this wall. Can this be the studio where it's just always there? And that thinking is how Laughing Vikings and our studio here started. That was just me deciding, you know what, man, is it a pain in the ass every time you get an audition to spend an hour bringing lights out of the closet and bringing the tripod out of the closet and setting up the camera and hanging a backdrop and doing all that stuff. That sucks. If you're doing it right now, no wonder you begrudge self-tape auditions and you roll your eyes, and no wonder your spouse looks at you like, oh, great, you got to tear apart the house just to do your little skit. But so get all that stuff set. You're a professional. Again, think about this. You got to lessen the gap between who you are today and who you want to be. And if you aspire to be a top level professional, well, top level professionals use professional equipment. They work in professional studios. They use professional microphones. They have professional lighting. There's a difference between looking at a self-tape that was done by a professional, either in a home studio or at a studio like ours, and someone who pulled some lamps together and stacked it on books and is in their kitchen and the cat's running around in the background. And instantly, the first impression, if you're a casting director or a producer or anyone involved in making that decision, even if the performance is pretty solid, the first impression is, I'm dealing with an amateur. Is this going to be good? And cross your fingers that they watch the whole thing. But if they got a bunch of thumbnails and they're looking at thumbnails on the auditions and they're trying to find one person out of 500 submissions, you might get passed over just because of the thumbnail on your audition has shitty lighting, or the first 3 words have echoey sound, or it just doesn't look professional, or your camera angles are all wonky where you're looking down, or the camera's above you or below you like you're looking into a laptop on a desk or something. Be a professional. So take that time. And yeah, if that means money, take some money and invest into that, because your return on that investment potentially can be 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. And you can probably do everything you need to do for, I'd say $300. $300 is going to get you lighting, a backdrop, maybe a mic, probably less. I mean, you maybe do it for $100. But I mean, if you need to skimp, if right now you're thinking, oh my God, I don't have money, it's tough. Well, go on Facebook Marketplace, go on Craigslist, Kijiji, find some of our backdrops, our photography backdrops that we have here, I found secondhand for like $40 from the millions of photographers that picked it up as a hobby and then never did anything with it, or the actors who started to build a home studio and weren't serious about it, so they got all this equipment lying around. So just do what you got to do. And if you need any recos on that, shoot us a message and we can help you with that. But again, it doesn't need to be like you don't need to spend $10,000, but you should spend as much as you can afford to spend. And if you're feeling like you can't afford to spend anything, you need to spend something, because that's the idea of putting fuel into the fire before you get the heat. You got to stoke it first before you're going to expect to get it. This is going to make your life a little easier, because think about that $300. If that $300 saves you an hour every time you get an audition so that they look better, you don't have to waste double and triple the amount of time to film an audition, and you get one more booking, you're going to make all that money back in one booking, maybe tenfold in that one booking. So just home studio upgrades. The other thing I didn't mention was potentially a laptop stand. We do a lot of Zoom auditions these days, and a laptop I find is easier to do it than on a phone. Just phone's kind of small on Zoom. So an adjustable laptop stand, laptop tripod. I'm literally talking to one right now that goes up to about 6 feet, and it's so easy for Zoom stuff. I love it. So just upgrade.
I was actually a little upset today because I have recently bought a green screen for my home studio, and I was having trouble setting it up before this. And I can't show you the green screen right now. Yeah, I know, but it was $90 on Amazon. So go get a green screen, because it's worth the investment, and you're worth the investment.
Yeah, and the other thing is not even just for auditions. Now, like, we always talk about auditions, but I like to only think of that as maybe 50% of what you're going after. Yeah, auditions are great to book professional commercials, TV, film, theater, but everyone in the world right now has maybe a better opportunity to create the role of their dreams by creating it themselves. So whether it's a vlog or a sketch series or a podcast like we're doing, have that home studio so that you can be creating that regular content. I think everyone in the world, whether you're an individual or whether you're a business, everyone is a media company. Everyone needs to look at themselves as a media company first. And then what do you do on top of that? You're a stand-up comedian, you're an actor, you have a home business, you sell some things on Etsy or on Amazon, but you got to pump out the media and the content there. So that the investment in that home studio, and then you never have to think about it. It's so good. Like, I've had all the equipment here, which really, like I said, spawned the opportunity to have Laughing Vikings, and then to create this community where we have dozens and dozens of actors coming physically to our studio. But then also because during pandemic, the first wave of it or so, when everything was shut down, I was like, oh shit, if we're not going to be able to leave here, now I would need to up level again. So at that point, I spent like probably $3,000 at Long and McQuaid, getting every kind of microphone I would possibly need, lighting, all the stands. I got PAs and other equipment for live shows as well. But I just made a decision early on there. I was like, okay, I'm going to have all pro equipment so that I never have to think about equipment again. And don't even like, so many people hem and haw about this. Like, I'll use podcasting as an example. The amount of podcasting people, I'd be like, what mic should I get? What mic should I get? Just get a mic. Spend an hour or two researching it, but don't spend weeks and weeks and weeks allowing yourself to put it all off because you're have analysis or paralysis by analysis, right? So just like make some decisions, look it up, and then go get something, because having something is going to be better than nothing. And chances are you're going to want to upgrade down the road anyways. So don't think that this has to be your forever studio. Just make some quick decisions, go get them, set it up, figure it out. And then you're going to eventually be like, you know what? I'm not a big fan of this mic, or I'm not a big fan of this webcam, and then sell it used and get a new one.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast recently, and an actor was talking about buying something, and it's something that you can control. That's a thing that you can control. So you can go on Amazon and buy that new mic to upgrade your home studio, and you have control over that. You may not have control over the casting that you just did, but you know what? You do have control over the equipment that you are using currently.
Right. And that it's going to also lead into your mindset too, because part of it is you're going to feel like a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel more confident. You're not going to be thinking in the back of your head, oh, I'm an imposter because every time I have to set up my janky setup here and they're going to know that I am not really into this or whatever it might be. Like you're going to feel like a professional. And there's other opportunities. Maybe you have a setup in a space where if you do invest, maybe you can cover that investment by then renting it out or setting up a little small home-based business.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if that's something that you want to talk about, we might even be able to do it where you're a satellite location with Laughing Vikings, where if you're in a different city, different town, even here where we are in Toronto, a different neighborhood, you have a great setup. Well, we could potentially start sending clients your way rather than having them trek across town. Or if you're in another city that we don't have a studio in, contact us. And if your studio meets sort of the minimum technical standards to be a professional studio, which isn't like doesn't have to be amazing, but it's got to be professional enough to do the job. You can, be creative and never the thing that you want to do. And I love this so much. Never say I can't afford anything. Never say that. Say, how can I afford? The second you say I can't, you shut it down. You shut down all possibilities. And people do this in all areas of their lives where they're just like, oh, I can't. Say, how can I? How can I? Get creative. How can you? Well, if you decided to, maybe it means you have a neighbor that lives nearby and you're like, hey, what if we pitch our money together, buy lights, buy a backdrop, buy a new camera, buy a new microphone, and you don't have the space, but I have the space. So we set up the studio at my place, but you use it and I use it and we read for each other. Maybe the $500 studio now just became a $250 studio that two of you throw into and you got it done. Or you decide, okay, what if I were to rent this spot out or put a collective of people together, put 10 friends together and then each pitch $250. And now you got $2,500 to make a dope studio. And then you're producing content every week, whether it's auditions or any other content. So just be creative and don't let stuff like I can't or I can't afford to slow you down.
Yeah.
Your dreams are worth it. Your dreams are worth it. So don't say no to your dreams.